travel is to discover that everyone is wrong about other countries. Aldous Huxley.
For our circumnavigation around the world, every port that we go into, each country, we need to make a courtesy flag. And with the help of our Make Your Own Courtesy Flag by Bonnie Liddell, which I purchased through Sailrite, I'm going to make Jamaica is the one I'm working on today. So part of the flag is white with red stripes, and then an insignia. This was Bonnie Liddell's little trick. Instead of making this from cloth in the different colors, you buy white insignia paper from Sailrite, which is pretty inexpensive. You get a yard for like a couple bucks or a couple yards. And then for Jamaica, you have the yellow, green, and black with the yellow cross. And you just color it in with permanent marker. And once you completely finish the flag, you peel the back off, stick it on, and make sure it's smooth and you get out all the bubbles. For the Jamaica flag, the dimensions for the material are 23 by 12. However, the finished flag, once we get all our hems and seams in there, will be 10 by 20. So let's cut out some fabric. So my dimensions are 23 by 12. I put a piece of tape, I'm using a quilter's mat underneath, cutting board underneath that has measurements. The nylon flag material is pretty much see-through for the white, so this is going to make it really easy drawing out my measurements. So I have 23, and then I'm just going to mark the line from my mat, go up, and then I need 12 by 12, and then follow this line across this way. I'm using, instead of a soapstone, white soapstone pencil, I'm using a gray water-soluble pencil that it also marks material fairly easily, and it also comes off fairly easily because it's water-soluble. The next step that I'm going to do is cut the material with the Sailrite Hotknife. And the reason why I'm doing this is if you take a look at the edges of this material, nylon is pretty strong material, however it frays, so you can see some of the fraying that occurs on the edges. This is what you're going to get if you cut this with a knife or a rotary knife or scissors. You can do that if you want because you're going to put hems in these, but I want to make sure that this isn't going to fray and give it a long lasting life as possible while we're sailing in the Caribbean under the hot sun and windy weather. So I'm at my hot knife station with my Sailrite Edge hot knife, which I love. This is one of my favorite tools or instruments that I use while sewing, not including my Sailrite LSZ1 sewing machine. I love that sewing machine. Makes it easy sewing anything, whether it's something personal or for the sailboat, and you're just learning and you're a beginner. Since this is normally the dining room table that I'm using for my sewing station, I have a piece of glass underneath the material, and I'm making 28 courtesy flags, which covers pretty much all the countries, or the majority of the countries in the Caribbean. That's why I have about 10 yards of 5 to 10, I think it's 5 or 6 yards of white nylon flag material. This is my 6th or 7th courtesy flag that I'm making. So each one I get a little bit better. And there we have 23 by 12. And if you look on this piece here, you can see a couple places where I got the hot knife too hot. Right here, where it melted the material and bent back a little bit. And then up here, where it singes the material and bends a little bit. So you can see if you get too hot that you want to be careful. Luckily, I was lucky and it didn't singe anywhere on my piece of material that I need. I needed 2 of the 12 by 3 and 2 23 by 3. So I went ahead and measured both of those. That way I can cut all of my material at once before I start using any basting tape or hemming or sewing. So I take my basting tape and just a tad from the edge. to give me that 1/2 inch hem allowance. I also purchased this basting tape from Sailrite, which I love. This has really been a time saver for me. The only con that I have found to it is you have to clean your needle quite often. Peel it back and start folding your hem. Now I'm basting the red strip, the long one, 23 by 12, to place it on the white nylon flag cloth. Peel one side. We're going to line this up with my marks. Once I have that even, I'm going to place the one side down and pull up side 2 once you have it nice and straight, and then you can just press that down. And then 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the seam, to give us our 1/2 inch, since our basting tape is 3/8 of an inch. Short strip. And it fits. I have 1 inch webbing. This is going to make up the hoist hem. So I need to do a 1/2 inch. So we're going to use our trick again, where we're going to go a 1/8 away from the edge to get our 1/2 inch from adding with the tape. I'm going to add my webbing at the inside edge of the 1/2 inch tape, of the basting tape. And then you're going to double this over. Try and line up my edges of my red. Make it as tight as possible. I'm going to crease it down, fold it back. I'm going to add a piece of basting tape here on the webbing. And it helps to put the basting tape towards the top edge. That way it holds it down more soundly. So this is a 1.5 inch hem allowance also on the fly hem. However, what we're going to do, since we're not adding webbing, is go in about one size of the basting tape, which is 3/8, which gives us 6/8, which will be 3/4. And when you double over 3/4, that gives you your 1.5 inches. Taking my applique and I'm lining it up in the corner. And now you are ready to do your top and bottom hems. So, one Jamaica flag, ready to sew. Okay folks, we are ready to sew. On your hoist seam, you want to sew at least double stitching. On the fly, you want a triple stitch. This is because the fly is going to be out there flapping in the wind, gets most of the pressure, so you want a triple stitch. What I have been doing is also sewing a triple stitch on my hoist seam. I just like that extra protection. So triple stitch on hoist, triple stitch on fly, and then on the top and bottom hem, I've been doing a double stitch. I'm also going to sew in the applique just to give it a little extra oomph. So my last tip for you is that I'm using a red permanent marker that I use to help make the white insignia appliques for the different courtesy flags. What I'm doing is I'm going over the white thread material so it blends in better with the courtesy flag red stripe. If you don't want to use the red permanent marker or whatever color you may be using or may need for the thread, you also have the option of changing your thread color every time. So we are almost at the end. The only thing that we have left to do is to add our grommets. What I am using is the Press and Snap grommet tool cutter to first cut the hole into my hoist line, and make sure you cut your hoist line, not the fly line. You need that extra webbing. And what I'm doing is going down about an inch, a little more than an inch from each of the top and bottom. And I'm trying to get it in the center, so I'm only going through one hem, one seam. Now that we have our holes cut, we're going to use our Sailrite Press and Snap installation tool. We're going to take the brass grommet, the male end on the bottom. You want to take your female part with the convex part up. Your Press and Snap installation tool, the handy dandy, and it is a handy dandy tool with these brass grommets. You want to make sure everything is still lined up and centered. And then you want to punch the heck out of it and just punch it together. And voila, you have your brass grommets in place for your Jamaican courtesy flag. All the patterns that you need to make your own courtesy flags can be found in this Make Your Own Courtesy and Signal Flag book by Bonnie Liddell and Matthew Grant. I purchased this on the Sailrite website. If you would like to make any of these flags and buy the pattern book, you will find that information along with the materials listed in the link below. Thanks for watching.
And now I'm ready to see